you. Thank you very much. Got a great audience here in the studios in New York, and welcome to Huckabee. All right, this weekend marks what would have been my mother's 86th birthday. She died 14 years ago, but her persistent voice is so embedded in my brain that I can still hear some of her admonitions and demands. I don't think she ever used the word civility, but she insisted on it. You see, in her world, it was simply called manners. Now, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, but she drilled into my sister and me that money can't buy manners, and manners can take you places that money has never been. I used to think, yeah, but money could take me to Disneyland. Well, I never made my childhood dream of going to Disneyland, but the lesson on manners was not forgotten. If I failed to say, please, thank you, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, I could expect an icy stare, verbal rebuke, and, depending on the circumstances, an abrupt physical contact. Now, when I failed to live up to her rigid standards of polite behavior, I would sometimes be challenged with her question, were you raised by wolves? And when beyond arm's reach, I would sometimes display my inner smart aleck self and say, well, you and Dad raised me, so you tell me. Well, she never thought it was as funny as I did. It was drilled into me that no matter how little we might have had in material things, we could always afford to treat others like we wanted to be treated. Our culture today seems devoid of manners. People shout at each other. They talk over each other. And they use profanity indiscriminately and gratuitously. Rude and selfish behavior has become routine, even in business and political circles. Technology has given us the capacity to communicate by way of smartphones, but smart obviously isn't the same as polite. Selfie photos so ubiquitous that world leaders routinely snap them even at memorial services of other world leaders. And that demonstrates just how far we've slipped from social norms of courtesy and propriety. Can you imagine Franklin Roosevelt whipping out an iPhone and snapping a shot of himself with Churchill at Yalta? Or Ronald Reagan grabbing his iPad and asking Margaret Thatcher to ham it up with him for a quick pic? The political environment of our country is infected with people who have replaced public service with self-service. Belittling and degrading comments are made behind the cowardly wall of a screen name on blogs and Facebook posts. So why should we be surprised that government is dysfunctional when meanness has replaced manners in our interactions with one another? Oh, and it's not just the two political parties going at it. I watch fellow Republicans gnaw on each other like dogs gnaw on bones, fighting imaginary demons and labeling other Republicans who might have the slightest difference in opinion or tactic a rhino, a squish, or a wacko bird. Now, if my mother was still around, she'd probably lay down her 10 commandments on some things. Number one, if you can't say something nice about someone, don't say anything. Number two, wait your turn to talk. Number three, respect your elders. Number four, don't talk back. Number five, never curse in front of a lady. In fact, just don't curse. Number six, never mistreat an animal. Number seven, let others go in front of you. Number eight, always say please and thank you, yes sir and no sir. Number nine, never take more than one piece of candy. And number 10, keep your clothes, your mind, and your mouth clean. You know, I think those rules could make Washington better. But then again, maybe the people in Washington were raised by wolves.